It is okay not to be successful the first time. Let's talk about it. Hi everyone, and welcome to Sweet Pieces Inspirations. My name is Sydney, and as some of you guys know, I am an avid fiber artist. Between crocheting, knitting, spinning, weaving, hand dyeing fiber, hand dyeing yarn, and even to the point now of needle tatting. And with all of that, I have been at the beginning stages quite a bit starting a new hobby. So the purpose of today's video is to reassure you that it is okay not to be successful the first time, second, or even the third time starting a new hobby. I know for some of us, and including myself, we kind of get in our head and feel like we've got to know everything right at the beginning. And when we do that, sometimes we do set ourselves up for failure. So the purpose of this video is to reassure you that it is okay not to be successful the first time and not to know it all right off the bat, and to give you some tips and tricks that will help you be more successful when starting a new hobby. So the very first tip that I do have for you today is you are going to have to set some time aside, whether that be 5 minutes a day, 20 minutes, hours a week, how much ever time you have. And as long as you are progressing forward, it's going to all add up at the end. Now, if you're able to set more time aside, that is awesome, but it's also okay if you can't set as much time aside. That just means you are going to learn things at a slower pace, and that is perfectly fine. Go at your own pace, learn what you can when you can, but as long as you are progressing forward. So some things that you are going to need to take a time out for is maybe doing some research, knowing the basics of whatever hobby, maybe doing some research on materials, but also you are definitely going to need to set some time aside to practice this new hobby. So that is tip number 1. Tip number 2 is going to be you want to start off small and learn the basics first. And there's a few reasons why you want to do this is because, for one, if you start off small, you're going to feel a little bit more motivated and confident in learning this new hobby versus if you were to start off with a big extravagant project and not know the basics first. And sometimes that can manifest into failure, but also to the point where you no longer want to do this hobby because you failed the first time not knowing the basics. So the basics of any kind of hobby is very, very important, and that's where you want to start off with. So for instance, if you are wanting to start off with crocheting, you need to know the basic materials, but also basic stitches. So basic materials would be a crochet hook and some yarn. Then move into learning the stitches, so a chain stitch, stillip stitch, single crochet, half double crochet, and then so on and so forth. Now, real quick, if you are wanting to learn how to start spinning, I do have a beginner spinning series. If you are interested, the playlist will be down in the description box for you. But again, start off small and very basic. That way you have a little bit more confidence moving forward versus starting off big and ruin your confidence. Tip number 3 is going to be practice makes perfect, because it does. Now, it might take a little bit of time, but eventually you are going to be a pro at whatever hobby it is. And the more experience you get, the better you do become. And a quick little story. When I first started learning how to spin, I watched videos after videos after videos of people spinning yarn or spinning for beginners, and on video and other people doing it that's been doing it for probably years, if not months, it looked really, really simple in video format. But in reality, when I tried it, it was not so simple. And so I actually had the state of mind before I started learning how to spin that I was going to be a natural at this, I was going to be perfect, all this good stuff. I was going to get it right off the bat. And being in that mindset put me in a state of frustration and anger when I went to go try spinning, because I was not perfect nor good at spinning. And so I actually had to step back and step away from spinning for a few weeks, because I had to change my mindset that, hey, I'm just a beginner, I'm learning the basics, let's regroup and then go back at it. Changing my mindset. And that's sometimes what you have to do, is you do have to step away from something and then go back at it. And that's what also I had to do with knitting, because with knitting I watched videos again, and with knitting it's a little bit more difficult because you do have English versus continental style and English versus Western as well, and just for a beginner it can be very, very confusing. So I had to step aside knitting and then go back at it a year later. And then even then, without some of your guys' help, months after knitting, I didn't even realize that I was actually twisting my stitches. So that's another thing, is get to know other people that's in the community of whatever hobby that you're wanting to learn from them as well, and learn from their mistakes, because that's all how we learn from each other. So again, you know, it's a lot about being in the right mindset too. Is, you know, you're just starting off, you're learning, and as long as you have that mindset that you're learning and you're not perfect, you will continue to go forward. That's the beauty about life, is you're never too old or too experienced enough to learn something new or pick something up along the way. But as long as you continue living with that mindset, you will be successful. And sometimes at the beginnings, we do have to remind ourselves that, hey, I'm just a beginner, and that is okay. It is okay to not be successful the first time or many times trying something new. And just reassure yourself, be easy on yourself, and try not to be your worst critic, because I know we can be. But I hope today's video maybe helped you reassure yourself and gave you a little bit of tips and tricks to kind of set yourself up for success when trying a new hobby. And if you want to talk about it a little bit more, feel free to reach out to me. I do not mind helping you at all. But that is it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to hit the like, share, comment, or subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video.